Hey, folks, we are already having a good time. I have Kevin and Kelley here, Dr. Kevin Kremer and Kelley. How are you doing today?
Doing great. How are you, Kary?
I'm doing great. Listen, this is a great book. Accountability, first of all, is a word that for me means everything, but I think people view it as like unsexy at times because it's not the most fun thing, but it's totally mandatory for success. And you really talk about it in some unique ways as well. So, Kevin, maybe tell us, what does quantum accountability mean?
Yeah, absolutely, Kary. So, I mean, that the title is confusing to people because the idea quantum is like that comes from things that are unseen. Okay, so I use the term quantum like quantum mechanics, quantum physics, where these are these little tiny things or particles or energy that we can't measure. And the point of using that is accountability, which is, like you said, maybe it's not the sexiest thing to talk about, but it's so paramount to success, whether you are owning your own company or whether you're working for someone, for you to own your results and you to be responsible for what you deliver. That's where accountability comes in. And what Kelley and I make the connection is that really starts with the unseen. It starts with your mindset. It starts with what's going on in here. And as you develop that mindset and you develop your belief systems, that really determines what you do in life. And so taking ownership or accountability for developing your mindset determines the level of results that you get in life.
I love that. I love that. And Kelley, I know you have been very, integral in this book as well. So, how was it, writing this book, and what's your kind of take on this?
So, one of my facets in life is that I love to learn. And so I saw it as an opportunity to kind of dwell, sorry for using that term, but
Yeah.
into really thinking about what's going on in our minds. And
Mm,
I think that's the core of the book for me is, hey, we all have this internal voice that creates these perceptions in our world. And let's stop and become aware of that voice. And
yes.
let's look at, is the voice serving us or is it not serving us?
Oh,
Uh,
that's
the brain, is has always been a fascination for me. It is equivalent to the neurons in the brain is they're equivalent to 30 times the computers that are in the world that are on the internet. So we don't even know even a small integral part of like how our brains work. And so I'm always fascinated. I'm always reading and listening to audiobooks, and I'm always just really intrigued with how the brain is working and how the brain creates these perceptions and these expectations about what's going on in our life and how we feel. Because a lot of times I feel like we have developed this mindset from, and these mindsets come from our childhood when
mm,
our brains were different and we had different expectations. And we don't stop to go back and look at, okay, what's my mindset? And could I, change my mindset and develop a more effective one to really get what I want?
I
And
love that. I love that. And remind me again, are you were you in counseling in the background? Like, do you do counseling?
so my background is in education.
That's right.
And when I was in college, I kind of concentrated on the brain and how people learn.
Mm,
And then I was in teaching for a while.
yes.
I took a hiatus and raised four beautiful children.
Yes.
And then I kind of got back into it and I got my coaching certificate. Uh,
That's right.
yes, yes. So I love looking at people's different perspectives and helping them achieve what they term to be success in life.
Well, and the only reason I asked that is my wife's name is Kelley, and she's in counseling. And the way you're talking, I'm like, wow, you really know a lot about the brain. So that's what I was thinking. But Dr. Kevin, this is I saw on LinkedIn, by the way, your LinkedIn is fantastic. I want to encourage people to, go to your website, kramerleadership.com or kevinkremer.com as well. But you mentioned recently, I think on one LinkedIn post, that doing a book is a intense commitment. talk to us a little bit about that, and like, why did you feel like it was worth the time and effort to want to change lives in this way?
Yeah, so Kary, I mean, in today's day, clearly, like as a business person and entrepreneur, a book is not, it's not a financial decision. It's not a way to make a lot of money, you know. And the purpose of something like this is that you want to share knowledge, you want to contribute, you want to give back. And so as I've navigated my career and I've really evaluated what's really important for me, it's like, how can I provide a greater impact on the world?
Mm.
And you know, we do that through our healthcare, through taking care of patients, and also on a greater model is how can we provide impact for other people that are wanting to learn, wanting to grow, whether they're business owners or this is a great book for, you know, it's an all play for the general public. So so it's all about providing an impact and contributing to, you know, to the thoughts of the day. And a lot of times when you read something, sometimes you get it a slightly different way from a slightly different stance, and the light bulb just kind of goes off. It's like, oh, and sometimes those little nuances help things click. And so that's what excited me about this is like being able to share information with people that I think is super impactful on the foundations of being successful in life, whether it's your career or whether it's your relationships or your personal. And these foundations of success and where they come from can, I think, can really help people define how to get where they want to go in life.
Well, I think people are definitely liking this book. I know it just launched, already featured in USA Today. Big congrats there. And really, I love the title, Unlock Extraordinary Success Using Quantum Accountability. The book is also a #1 new release in on Amazon in certain categories. So my point, Kevin, is, you know, what do you hope happens with this book? Like, what do you hope readers do with it? What kind of things you want to see in the world?
Well, I think if you can, you know, from a simplest standpoint, if you can impact one person and make a difference, it's like, okay, that's a success.
Mm.
And what you hope for is to increase that level of impact. You want this to be something that people say, oh, you know what, this was really helpful. I really appreciated that. And I think our initial feedback from people who did the pre-read before
Yes.
publishing and endorsed it was very positive. So that was really exciting for us to see some people who have kind of really been in the industry, have published books, have helped a lot of people, read this and like, wow, this is really good. And so it was good for us to get that feedback. And so we're just excited about the opportunity to help people and have people be impacted by this thought.
So good. Kelley, I know there's a lot of moms watching this that will be checking out the live stream as well. Do you think that mothering, you know, parenting, do you see quantum accountability showing up even in the home in these types of ways?
I definitely do. I think that this is more important, I think, than a lot of the things you learn in school. There's not an owner's manual for your brain and your mindset. And, you know, one of the things I focused on when I was teaching and I taught 5th grade was teaching my students, or attempting to teach them about, hey, look at your values and look at the way you're thinking and look at the way you're behaving and why are you doing that, and just becoming aware. So I think for mothering, it's the same thing, because I think the way we parent is typically the way we are parented.
Oh, yes.
And so that's the way it is in life. And we talk about in the book, like, if you're an angry person, then you project anger. If you're a loving person, you project love. So what is it that you want to give to the world? And if you start to become aware of your emotions and your feelings, then you can start to change those and really have an impact on the people around you. So when you talk about mothering, the most important person in anyone's life is typically their parents, including their mother. So
Yes.
I think that it's very essential.
Well, I agree. It is. And, you know, Kevin, we hear from our coach, Dan Sullivan, thinking about your thinking. And that's really what I feel like this book is tracing. It's tracing back like, hey, don't just let your thoughts come to you. Like, unpack them really at the quantum level. Is that accurate in my thoughts there?
Yeah, in the book, we have early in the book this, what we call a quantum awareness model. So we kind of vet that out and go through that. But Dan Sullivan talks about, and he wrote an amazing endorsement for the book as well. But he talks about thinking about your thinking. And what we talk about is your mindset. Okay. And what I like to say, people, I equate it to, if we look at our body, our physical health, what we discovered, at least in America, through diet and nutrition through the 80s and 90s, is a lot of obesity was created. And it all had to do with what people are feeding themselves into their body, what they're eating. Well, the same thing goes with our mindset, is what are we feeding our mind? And that goes back to who your peers are, who you're spending your time with, the conversations you have, the words that you're using, who your mentors are. And like Kelley talked about, your first major mentors in your life are your parents.
Wow.
Now, some people can say, well, you can't choose your parents. So then we talk about a mindset continuum. So we don't go into a victim state with things. We go into, okay, what are the opportunities here? What's great about that? So when we look at the mindset, or the mindset star, it all goes to, what are we feeding our mind? And in today's day, just like we had issues with physical obesity, I feel like we're in a state today of a mental obesity epidemic. We are so overstimulated by social media, streaming video, and we have access to so much information that it's really important for us to, number one, to start to be aware of that, and then to put filters on and say, okay, what am I going to be listening to? Who am I going to spend my time with? What am I going to watch? What things am I going to let into my mind through my senses that are then going to shape and mold my mindset over time, that will then determine my actions and level of success in life?
That is huge. I love that. And I mean, let's face it, these days, media is coming to you. It's like, I can pick up my phone and say, oh, I think I got a text. All of a sudden I'm on a certain social media platform. All of a sudden I'm scrolling, and all of a sudden I'm thinking the world's going to end. This is how quick it can happen at to your book's point, the quantum level. So I think awareness, I love how you start out the book, because that does sound like one of the early stages is just like awareness. What happens once you're aware and you're like, hey, wow, maybe I'm not putting in the right inputs into my life.
The accountability is actually the first step in this triad of the quantum awareness model. So when we're developing our mindset, we're really molding who we are, who we become.
Okay.
And so by looking at not only our thoughts, but our beliefs, our virtues, our attitudes, and our feelings, and we talk about those 5 things, and this mindset star is a continuum, or an ongoing, almost like an infinity symbol of those 5 things that are always affecting each other. And we're constantly molding and growing and shifting our mindset, which then determines who we are. And from that, we'll go in and look at our decisions, our choices, and our habits in life, which is then what we end up doing, or the action steps we take. So when you talk about thinking about your thinking, we're developing that mindset, which then determines what we do in life, which is quantum action. And then that ends up with what level of abundance we have, or what we have from the results of our actions. And that's what the quantum awareness model is in a nutshell.
I love that. We were talking last night about the mindset star, and for different people, they have a different level of awareness. And looking at the 5 branches of the mindset star, if you become aware of just one of those branches, it affects all the other branches. So for example, probably the easiest for people are your thoughts. So when you start to just simply become aware of your thoughts, that's going to affect your beliefs, your virtues, your attitudes, your feelings. For other people, it may be their feelings. They're more in touch with their feelings. And so when you start to become aware of your feelings, you can look at, okay, what thoughts am I having that are creating those feelings? So awareness really is the first step. And then I think that leads into, okay, then starting to take accountability and that results from looking at, okay, where are these coming from? And are these serving me, or do I want to spend some time and energy on changing them?
I just Googled Kevin Kremer Mindset Star, and it's interesting because both of you seem to really dial into this concept of mindset. You know, there's usually a why behind it. If I may ask, like, what is the why? Where did this all start for you, where you got really passionate about this?
Because I really do feel like we are moldable in this existence. We can improve, we can change. We're constantly growing in our human experience, and it all starts with what's going on inside our head. It starts with what are we thinking about?
Yeah.
And then as we discover that and we learn, well, it really has to do with the different inputs that are coming in through our senses. What are we seeing? What are we listening to?
Yeah.
What are we subjecting ourselves both virtually as well as the people we're around, as I said earlier? And so that really is the paramount foundation of success in life. And so like when we have our mindset continuum, we talk about a lot of people in today's day can go into like a poor me or a victim mindset.
Oh yeah.
Or they'll get in a state of scarcity. And so how do we become aware when we all do that at times? Okay. How do we become aware of that so that when we do that, we can snap out quickly and get back into a growth or an abundance mindset, because that's where success comes from.
That's so good. Listen, that is tough. You know, I think if we all go back in our lives, yeah, there was a decade of my life many years ago where I just was living like a victim in a certain area. And, you know, you start blaming external things. And then finally, yeah, you wake up and you look in the mirror and you're like, no, I'm actually the problem. So I'll tell you what's a good thing though, Kevin and Kelley, about that awareness. You pick it up so fast now in other people, right? I mean, just the other day, I unfollowed somebody on social media because I'm like, you know what? Every time I see this person pop up, they're claiming a big life, but I know that they've let me into their life, and there's one area that I've challenged them on, and they're still not doing it. I'm like, I don't even want to be around someone who's playing a big game externally, but internally playing a small game. And why is it? Why, you know, somebody might be watching this being like, dang, that's really harsh. But do you feel like there is a point, even relationally, to distance yourself from certain people? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, the unfortunate reality to that is yes. And as much as we like to think that, oh, let's all be one and be connected, when people are caught in that level of
Stuck.
Yeah,
They don't want to do anything about it.
Yeah.
It's an addiction. It really is. They're addicted to that feeling.
And let's back that, Kelley, really quick. Why do you think they're addicted to being stuck?
Well, I think that we've all, like you alluded to, we've all had a time in our lives when we have found ourselves stuck in a place where our expectations are not, our expectations exceeded where we are.
Okay.
And to get out of that, it takes a lot of hard work and energy.
Ah.
So it's easier just to claim victim, right? And stay where you are and say, poor me, than it is to try to figure out, okay, how do I get out of here? Because
sometimes people get an audience that way, right? Like,
exactly. And and you find that like on social media, like you wallow in other people's sadness, right?
Wow.
It's like when you pass by a car crash on the freeway, and you are like something inside you wants to look, right?
Right.
You really want to look at that, and you want to feel sorry and sympathy, because that makes you a good person. And so it's really we really find that like when doors close, it means that other doors are going to open.
That's positive.
That's where we are in our lives. But you know what? It's taken us a really long time to get here, because we both had times where we just feel like, what else is the world going to give me right now? Like, I can't take anymore. Like, please, you know?
Yes.
So I think for me too, like one of the things that really made me understand when I started thinking about this, I was in school and I had an expectation, and I thought I call them if-then statements. I said, if I can get straight A's and a 4.0, then I'm going to be happy. That was my prediction, right? So here I am in college, and it's, you know, it's great time, but it's also time to study. So I got my 4.0, and guess what? I wasn't happy.
Wow.
And I was like, okay, what do I do now? Because I've lived my whole, first quarter, second quarter in college, I thought if I could just do this, then I'll be happy. And I didn't get what I expected. So it made me start to think about, okay, well, let's look at my feelings and why I'm feeling this way, and what are my thoughts, and what are my attitudes, my virtues. So that for me was the precursor to all of this.
Wow.
And one of the things I say, Kary, and I know Kelley doesn't love it when I say this, but it's like, as human beings, like the unfortunate reality is nobody's perfect. We're all broken in some sense, in that we're all dealing with issues. And that's where, like, when you talk about the person that's like posting this big game and all of that, I don't love the idea of the term an influencer. And so for that reason, I'm very like self-conscious about, I don't like to post, oh, look at this, we're on this great trip and all that. I just like to post like thought stuff that is thought-provoking, because I don't like that idea of where it's all about the ego and not about having an impact. And so I will say that none of us are perfect, and we're all navigating this human life, and this book, I think, is a really good contribution from us to share on, hey, the more we can work on ourselves and not be pointing fingers and placing blame out there, and focus on being accountable for what we do, we're going to have a more positive impact on the world. We're going to be more successful. We're going to have better results. We're going to be in alignment with where we want to go with our North Star in life.
That's so good. Courtney Brown, giving you some shout outs here. You got some great followers here that are weighing in here at the party. What are we looking at here? I want to show you this one image that I found on your website. It's a pretty interesting, exciting video here that's kind of playing in the background. But what's going on here? Do you do trainings? Like what do you can people get around the quantum accountability in terms of training? What do we have here?
Yeah. So I go out and I speak on this, and share the knowledge with different groups and businesses, or speaking engagements where we basically are doing team building and workshops where we're providing impact for teams and helping them really break down and develop what's really important to them in life. And we also work with business owners on their success principles. And so
I love that.
Is something that we do.
That's so good. Well, listen, we have just a couple minutes left, but I think that, the book, will I see you, Kevin, in 2 days, or am I going to see you in October?
October.
Okay. So when I see you in October, in about 30 days, what will success look like in terms of the book? What will have happened? You've already hit some great milestones, USA Today article, bestseller in categories, but like, what do you hope happens with this book?
Do you want me to go first?
You can go first.
So for me, it's about people feeling like it's been helpful. Having people that have found like, oh, wow, this has been really impactful, that's the word I like to use, in my life. And it helped them unlock some things in them, in struggles they're dealing with in their mindset, and help them move in the direction they want to go.
That's great. What about you, Kelley?
So this goes back to Descartes had a quote, and he said, "I think, therefore I am." And I actually think that that is incorrect, if I can be so humble to say that.
Yeah.
I think it's actually, I am, therefore I think.
Ooh.
And I feel like we've already exceeded what I see as success. Kevin has had the been very fortunate to have relationships with some very impactful people.
Oh yeah.
And he reached out and asked them if they would, read the book and possibly, give us some accolades. And just seeing what people wrote, it was like, wow. Because sometimes when you write things, you're like, okay, we'd get together and like, okay, let's hash this out. How do you see this? How do I see this? And it was really a compilation of, okay, let's do this together. And just seeing what they wrote about it, and it's like, wow,
It's true.
yeah. So for me, I've already exceeded what I expected.
Well, I saw your endorsements, and I mean everything from the forward being Jay Abram to many colleagues I deeply respect, and I thought, wow, this is exciting. So I think especially I'll close with this, but we live in a mental health crisis right now, and to me, like this is the book that will basically help you navigate that storm where look, I mean, I love your subtitle. I always tell people subtitles are so important, but you got these 3 benefits: master your mindset, unlock extraordinary success, and transform your life and business. Like, I don't know about you, but I think that's about 99% of the world would benefit from those 3 things. So this has been an absolute blast. You have Shay. Shay's been an amazing team member too. But look, I want to encourage everybody, get the book. Get the book in multiple versions. Go to your website too, because what did I just see about that assessment? You have an assessment literally on your website. I think it was under this one right here, the pre-read questionnaire. So right if they go to kevinkremer.com, scroll down under book, boom, there it is.
Yeah, there's a great assessment to take before and after, so you can see what has happened with your mindset through the process of reading that book, and the different pistons that have fired as a result of it.
That's so good. Well, thank you. I know writing a book is a big task, and you did it well. And now you have a new eternal asset that will change lives. So thanks for joining us today, Kevin and Kelley.
Thanks for having us, Kary.